Miss Jones, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty well.
Well, I want to welcome you to the Centrist, and I want to talk to you a little bit about your campaign for House
District
District
81.
81 position, which is currently held by Mark Tuggle, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us a little bit about who you are, your family, a little background, and kind of make the viewers know a little bit about who you are and why you're running.
My family is all from Clay County, Coosa County, Tallapoosa County. If it's a Johns or a Wheelis, they're me. A Mask, that's all me. Thunderbird, I got some of them too. I've pretty much got a lot of family around this area. And my dad was in the Marines.
Okay.
My mom was a firefighter paramedic. My uncle, Tim Wheelis, was a firefighter. We lost him in 2012.
Okay.
But he was a chief down at our town. My grandfather was a firefighter, paramedic. Before that, I didn't know this until like a year before he passed away. He was a police officer. But so my family's all here. I was born at Camp Pendleton because my dad was a Marine.
Okay.
And spent from kindergarten to 5th grade in Talladega schools. And my mom became a firefighter at Alex City. Daddy said, let's get her me driving and not her that hour commute. So I came to Alex City in the 6th grade.
Family of first responders.
That's right.
All right.
So I've always wanted to help people. In the 7th grade, I had the idea for, it's 4th grade, maybe 8. It's 7 years old, maybe 8 years old in the 4th grade. We did Alabama history back when Alabama history was taught. And Lurleen Wallace didn't get a fair shake for me because she didn't get to finish her job. And everybody said she just got it because of her husband. And I'm like, I could be the first female governor elected not on her husband's coattails.
I got you.
But you don't tell people that when you're 7 because they look at you like, okay, honey. So fast forward. I met my now husband. I had some struggles along the way. My health was very, very poor. Make no secret that I am a recovering alcoholic. My liver quit, kidneys quit, spleen shut down. Dr. Holcomb, Dr. Adams both told my mom and dad to plan my funeral. They said she ain't going home with you. And when I woke up 10 days later, after 6 pints of blood and hyperbaric chambers and everything, and they looked at me like,
how did this happen?
I got nothing. Dr. Holcomb told me, he said, you could leave here right now and go drink, but you'd be right back where you are or worse, and I can't save your life because I didn't save it this time. He said, I have no medical reason why you're alive.
Okay.
So he said, you need to figure out why God put you on this earth and get to doing it. And my now husband and I had that talk, what do you want to be when you grow up? And this was a couple of years later. And I told him, and he said, you know, I've been in politics 25 years as a consultant, a lobbyist. And I said, no, I didn't. And so that was just kind of floating back there. And I was thinking, I wonder if he could get me in somewhere as like a clerk or something. Or as a lobbyist or whatever when that's legal again, because it will be, you know it will be. But I speak the truth.
There it is.
Spade to spade. But Mark Tuggle announced 2 weeks later that he wasn't running again. It was on paper. And Boyd had to goad me, my husband had to goad me into it by saying, you know, I bet that so-and-so and so-and-so would be a good candidate for that seat. I bet so-and-so would be a good candidate for that seat. And there we go. I had to say, no, I am.
So is you, your husband, any other people in the household?
My little girl.
Oh, yes, I met her. Yes.
My little girl.
What's her name again?
Julia Bell.
Okay, and husband's name?
Boyd Landry.
Okay. Well, knowing a little bit about what you're into right now and the struggle of running, I know you've had an opportunity to sit down and look at some topics and some issues that are out there. Uh, let's talk about some of those from a different perspective, okay?
Okay.
Let's talk about, I'm going to just throw some issues out, and it's more of a topic. And I'd like to know your ideas to the people as far as how you think you might be able to address some of them. First thing is always economics and jobs. I mean, here in Alexander City, jobs, right? We'll get to the budget in a second, but let's talk a little bit about economic development and jobs.
Well, as much as I hate to say it, Benjamin Russell did get a D in the last report card.
Okay.
And I'm a graduate. This is my class ring. First piece of jewelry I ever bought.
Okay.
And so I'm proud to be from Benjamin Russell. I'm proud to say I'm an alumni and an alumnus. And I hope my daughter will be proud of that one day too. And right now, when you see these big companies coming into Silicaga and Auburn and Opelika, the first time those dignitaries have heard or seen our city is not the first time that you see them. Right. I know that. You know that. Mm-hmm. They secret shop. And I hope that they didn't go to Sonic when they were picking where to put a Chick-fil-A, because I'm afraid that we don't have the workforce to support the willing and able-bodied workforce to support the kind of growth that people are demanding.
Right.
And I tell people back in the day, in the 1800s when we were first settling this place, even 1700s, they'd find a body of water. And on that body of water, like a creek or a pond or a lake or whatever, even by the Gulf, that's where they would set up camp. First building that went up was a church. And when that church wasn't being preached in, it was being taught in. So you knew where your kids were, and you knew they were getting an education. When they got out of school, they went and picked fields. And eventually, that town grew up. We need to get back to our basics. We're way overthinking this. If you have a reason for employers to want to come to your town, meaning what quality of life are the employees going to have if I bring a group with me to add on? So it's unfortunately something that's going to have to work itself out over time, in my opinion.
Well, with economic development, typically you go into that next issue, which is the budget. You know, when you don't have the jobs and you don't have the tax revenue and everything else, you have budgetary issues. And Montgomery has definitely struggled in the last few years with budgets. Tell us a little bit about your plan or some of the things that you'd like to see done if you were in that spot, vying for a vote or being able to put forth legislation.
Well, I am for I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe, as having been a single mom, that we should try to spend what we have wisely and what it should be spent on before we start asking people for more money. In my house, if I need a roof, I can't go to my 11-year-old Julia Bell and say, Julia Bell, rent went up. We got to have a roof. So in that respect, I think that if I can balance my checkbook, the state should be able to balance theirs. And that may step on some toes, but it's the truth of the matter. Truth of the matter, really, for any government entity, if I have to do it, you should be able to do it also. And it's not being done.
So one of the biggest issues that you see fights over in state government is not just the school budget, but what to do with the schools. And I think some of that ties into economic development, it ties into the budget. What are some of your ideas on maybe the economics of the school system, the budget aspects as far as how they're managed? And while we're at schools, might as well throw in the topic of school security, which is going to be a big issue pretty soon.
Okay. If you talk to any police officer in Alex City that's ever worked the night shift, you will find a door or a window open at any time, and you can go in at school just like you walked in my front door just now. And that's not okay. Don't come to, and I'm sorry to say it like this, but don't come to the state, don't come to the feds begging for money to harden your school when you're not willing to do a little bit yourself. And the very little bit is just making sure the doors are locked. They don't even have to be, you don't even have to change them out to metal doors, just lock them.
Right.
Because that first gunshot to bust that window open is going to alert somebody. Just lock the doors. It's not hard.
Okay. What about funding these different things? I know locking doors is one piece, but
There's other
yeah,
aspects to
other
that.
aspects.
That's the kind of the keep it simple, stupid answer.
Right.
Beyond that, we need mental health in every school. Period. We need a licensed either doctor, mental health person, or a therapist or a licensed counselor that is trained to deal with children on staff at every school every day. So they can see changes in behavior. You will catch bullying, you will catch learning disabilities, you will catch that possibly that school shooter before he's a school shooter. Home problems, domestic abuse. There's so many things. Drugs and alcohol. Alcoholics and addicts start usually 90 something% of the time. I'm not going to say the last number because I know I'll be wrong. But 90 something% of the time, if they took their first drink or their first hit between the ages of 10 and 14, that counselor sees you at least once a month. They're going to notice that change in behavior. And we may end up solving problems we didn't even anticipate, like prison reform or a number of things, people being on the assistance programs that they are, and not that if you need it, you shouldn't have it, but you get what I'm going for.
Right.
Yeah, if you catch the learning disabilities early, you can educate them properly so they can grow up and make their own money.
Well, since you brought the topic up, let's dive a little bit. You use mental health as one of the issues with school systems and other things of that nature. And as you know, state of Alabama has a big problem right now with its prison system. Tell me a little bit about how you could contribute to helping to solve that prison system issue.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, you may have to edit this out after you talk to my husband.
We don't edit, sorry.
Okay, here we go with it. I'll make some people laugh and I'll make some people go, joy, why? But Mr. Hubbard most recently was convicted and he will be imprisoned in a light security prison system. Why? What's he gonna hurt right now? Why shouldn't he go to some of these schools that are lacking government and history teachers and use community service hours to teach their kids? Because he knows the ethics laws. He passed the one that ultimately convicted him. Okay. And yeah, I really did say that out loud, and I'm very sorry for the way I love you. But yeah, boy's gonna be mad. But the truth is the truth. Like, that's part of it. That prison money is prison money. And even if it's a minimum security thing, if you're housing somebody like Mike Hubbard, is he really a threat? Is he? No, I personally don't think that I'm in any danger of him having to do some community service, teaching an ethics class in a junior college, teaching a government class at a poorly performing high school that desperately needs teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are viable options for some of the people that are in the minimum security. That'll free up money to go down to the violent offenders. I think mental health and I guess you want to call it a rehabilitation program, a true rehabilitation program, because a lot of these people have been in prison for so long that they don't even know how life works anymore. So I think if we use some mental health to begin with when they first get there, because there's always some kind of problem deep down in your heart that makes you do wrong. You know there is. I don't believe anybody's going that. I really don't. Um, so if you start first at the prison, when they get there, mental health, and there's no funding for mental health anywhere, and that leads you to another problem that our state is facing: opioid and alcoholism addiction. And they call it the opioid crisis, but really and truly, it's addiction, period. Mental health for that is huge. And maybe you catch some of that in the schools before it starts. But frankly, I make no secret that I'm a recovering alcoholic since 2014. And if you want to pass a law to keep people, addicted people, from getting the medicine, the alcohol, or whatever that they shouldn't be getting, it takes one to know one. You got to have one to stop
So leading into the next topic.
it.
See how smooth?
Look
Okay.
at us. We need to practice this.
Yeah. But the thing that you brought up with mental health and then the addiction and everything else, all of that costs.
Mm-hmm.
And you know about the current situation with our healthcare system,
Mm-hmm.
especially in Alabama with Medicaid.
Where we kick the can down the road every year.
Well, tell me a little bit about how you feel about our healthcare situation and what you would want to see or contribute to if you were to get the position.
I don't know that the legislature has made any friends out of Blue Cross Blue Shield, which I remind everyone is the only private insurer left in the state of Alabama, with some recent legislation they passed. While it may be necessary to have passed that legislation, I don't know that they made friends from doing that. It's important for me to keep rural health care where it is and even make it better. But again, I know you're going to ask me, how do you pay for that? Well, right now we got two budgets in the state of Alabama. And I explained this the other day. I have to dumb things down for myself sometimes. The education fund is funded by a list of things. And just to simplify it as much as I can, it's basically you work on commission, you're a car salesman, and every day you're going to make a sale. So you know you will have more money every year. And very few chances of you not having more money. The other side is the general fund where Medicaid's paid for. That's your salary job. What you get is what you get. No matter how hard you work, is what you get. So with Medicaid costs going up and what you get is what you get, where's the money going to come from?
Right.
I have talked with lots of very conservative, fiscally conservative, serving senators, state senators, and representatives, and the idea has been tossed around to have one budget. And please don't freak out on me, teachers. It's not like that. What we would do is all the money goes into one bank account, one pot. The commission and the salary goes into one bank account. And you split that bank account. If you have to split it 78-22 to make it a little more towards the education part of it than the general fund part of it, then that's what you do. But then you know there's a line and you don't cross it. And both sides of the budget have a chance to grow, and both parts have a chance to benefit from our commission job over here.
Okay.
It'll
Now,
never happen,
this is true.
but a girl can dream.
And so we've covered a lot of issues regarding some of the bigger items that the state legislature tackles during session. And as a conservative under the GOP, we have your fiscal issues and then you have your social in some cases. Are there any social issues you want the individuals to know that you're for or against in certain issues, in certain areas?
You have to be a little more specific.
Well, I mean, I try not to get specific in that because people, when you go and sit at somebody's table, they have their own stuff like abortion, they have issues with adoptions or whatever might come up. Is there anything that's just a burning thing in your campaign that you are wanting to support or work on when you get to Montgomery?
Have we covered the gas tax?
I don't think we've actually covered the gas tax itself.
That's not what you're going for, but
Okay,
I need to do that.
got a couple of minutes, so
That's a thorn in my side.
okay. Well then, let's hit it just for a brief moment.
Briefly,
Okay.
briefly, if you put money, if we raise the gas tax like the big boys in Montgomery want to do, and I was asked the question, would you consider raising the gas tax? I said no. Fiscally conservative does not say yes to that question without saying, what have you done to see where you can pull money from somewhere else first? And I did not get an answer to that question. So I said, guys, y'all got to sell me on something. Like, I'm not unreasonable. I'll consider it if it's necessary, but I got to see both sides.
Right.
I said, do away with the grocery tax. Then maybe gas tax won't be so bad.
Right.
And from my point of view, as having been a single mother, I go fill up my tank. When I fill up that tank, I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy milk and bread and eggs. There's truckers that paid that gas tax to begin with, passing that on to my grocery stores, my mom and pop stores, my Winn-Dixies, my Renfro's, my Piggly Wigglies, my Foodlands, those that can't absorb that 3-cent gas increase that's passed on to them from the truckers. So guess what? I pay it again. You're taxing the poor twice. And I can't deal with that. I don't like that. I was at a meeting recently and a young lady asked me, well, I say young lady, it was at the senior citizens meeting.
The same difference.
Young lady asked me, she said, how come the lady down the road from me owns all that land and she harvested all that timber and all those trucks came up and down my road and tore it up and they're gone and that lady's got her money for her timber, but I can't drive on my road without getting a rock flung over my face. And I thought to myself, So I thought, why not do at least not to catch, but to try to recoup some of that use of the roadways that's a little more excessive than your or my car would be, is when those trucks register every year, they have another per tonnage fee added on. That goes to a different account altogether. Won't be touched by the courts, won't be touched by ALEA. It'll be all its own money, and it can be directed straight to the counties and the municipalities like South Coosa or West Coosa and West Chilton, South Coosa or East Chilton, South Coosa, and most of Tallapoosa counties, right, because we need it bad.
Right.
And if you just go with your standard gas tax, what's the guarantee it's going to come back here?
Okay.
They couldn't even answer that question for me.
So, in closing,
yes, sir,
you had an opportunity to sit in front of an individual and have this conversation, and you only had a minute left. What would you want to leave them with as a thought in order to vote for you? And lastly, look into the camera when you're done and ask them for your vote.
Yes, sir. I would want people to know that I am a real person. I had struggles. I've been up. I've been down. I started out life summa cum laude, graduated top of my class from Troy State, and I hit the bottom just as hard as anybody else. But I built my way back up by choosing to do better every single day. Tallapoosa County, Coosa County, Chilton County, we can do the same. We're not as bad as people say we are. We have jobs, but we've got to find people to fill them, and we've got to get our schools right. And I'm committed to that. I have a vested interest in that in my child being here for at least 6 more years. So I want her to come back to a home that she's proud of after school, after college or military or whatever she decides to do. I want her to have some place to say, I graduated from Benjamin Russell High School, and have a little pep in her step.
All right.
So on June the 5th, y'all have a lot of decisions to make, and I understand that. I would ask that you choose to do better, choose to do something maybe a little bit out of the ordinary for you, a little bit out of the box, because I know that I'm not a politician, and maybe that'll help me. I'm also not a lawyer, and I'm also not doing this for a retirement gig. This is a labor of love for me, And I truly want the people of District 81 to know that I'm here to serve them. So choose to do better, choose joy on June the 5th.
And this is Miss John. She's running for State House District 81 in the Tallapoosa, Coosa, and Chilton area. And if you want to, like and share and get the word out, and we will continue to do more videos. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Bye, guys.